Welcome, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's great to have all of you with me today. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Maria Marquis, and here at Coda, I focus on customer education. And we are at the end of a series of what we've been calling creating a basic Coda system. Now, if you weren't able to attend the previous ones, not a problem. You'll still be able to get exactly what you need today. And I invite any and all questions. So if you've got a question today, feel free. Just let me know as soon as it pops into your head. You don't need to wait for me to stop talking. You can go ahead and use the chat field over there on the right side of your screen, or you can use that handy little ask a question button right below my face. That way it doesn't get lost in any chat that's going on over there. So just to catch you up on what we've been doing in this series, we started off by creating a company wiki, a landing page for everything and everything that our company needs to keep track of as far as how we work, employee needs, things like that. We then added to our company wiki, including an OKRs table. So OKRs, objectives and key results, essentially goals and milestones. We then saw how we could create a team task tracker and pull in information from that company wiki into that task tracker to be able to connect to those OKRs. We spent some time last week focusing on meetings, and today we're going to look at resource utilization. So how can you plan for the bandwidth that your employees have, and how can you see how the workload is being distributed so you can actually decide to adjust and restaff as necessary. Now, just as a little starter, I'd love to know for you, when it comes to managing your resources or your people, go ahead, post a chat for me. What are some of the things that you need that tracker to do for you? I've got some things I'll be showing you, but I want to make sure I can meet you where you are as well. So go ahead, post a chat for me. What do you need to track when it comes to your resources or your people? Go ahead and just post that to chat for me when you get a moment. Do you need to track across projects, across goals, across teams, restaffing? What does that look like for you personally? See if anything else. All right, we're a little bit starstruck today. That's totally fine. If you think of something as we move through, please feel free. Go ahead, post a chat for me. I'll be happy to adjust and make changes. So I'm going to share my screen to get us started. Great, we've got a question coming in. Oh, sure. Can you one day, let's see, the question is from Gabe. Thank you, Gabe. Can you one day show a basic Coda system for a self-employed person? I'm a financial planner, so I've got clients, projects, tasks, deadlines, and 2 outsourced people writing blogs. Oh, totally, Gabe. And actually, let me grab for you one moment. We actually have a template that I made that's all about managing a small business. So things like your tasks, a CRM, and kind of bringing those together. So let me just grab that for you. All right. See if I've got quick access to it. Just give me one moment. At Maria Marquis. Perfect. Here we go. So for you, this will be a great place to start. Gabe, I'm just going to pop that right in there to chat. Also, I will take note of that. I'll be happy to do an event on that. So let me just make a note so I can make sure I get that for you. Awesome. Thanks, Gabe. Beautiful question. And again, just like Gabe did, if you've got a question as we go through today, just pop in whatever you need. I'll be more than happy to help. So I'm going to share my screen now, and we're going to pop on over here. I find for this topic, it's helpful to do a little bit of a reverse engineering so I can show you what I'm talking about. So you should be able to see my screen. Give me a yes or no in chat if you can see it. Want to make sure that it's coming through to you loud and clear. Okay, great, perfect. So what we've got here when it comes to resource utilization and mapping your project roadmaps, it's all about understanding, are we actually planning for reality versus planning for an ideal situation where everybody can work 24 hours a day and never get tired? Probably won't happen for us. So what we've got over here is we've got this idea of knowing our projects that we're working with, knowing the approximate start and end date, and then also the amount of effort and who is assigned to it. What we can then do is actually put it together in a bit of a chart here. So we can see immediately, wow, Alden is really keeping busy. We might want to move some of this work over to somebody else like Jeremy. In this case, he's got a little bit more bandwidth to be able to pop in. The other thing that we can then do is we can actually see this roadmap in a Gantt chart. So we've got the ability to see for the billing integration, when is Alden going to get freed up and everybody else and same things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this same idea into our task tracker. Now, if those of you were with me last week when we were doing the task tracker, this should look familiar. This is the doc that we used. Also, I'll go ahead and just choose share here and copy the link. If you want to join me in this doc and play around, feel free. There's the link for you as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect that idea of resource utilization with this existing task tracker that we've already made so that we can actually see how our tasks are affecting our overall bottom line and our overall work. So what we've got over here is we created an area that we called all tasks. And this is where we've got all of the tasks that we're working on. And we've also connected them to goals. And we can see we've got people, we've got the effort, and we also have the status. So what we're going to do is we're going to add projects to this task tracker. So how I recommend doing this is heading over to one of your areas that can kind of act as data in this case. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a table for all of our major projects that these tasks are part of. Now, you can add a table by going to your plus sign right up here at the top. But I really like this new feature that we launched probably last week, I think it was, where you can just type a backslash and then start typing what you want to add, in this case, a table. I find it just lets me stay a little bit more efficient. And then I just press enter, and now it's added. Go ahead, collapse the side, give ourselves a little more room. I'm going to call this a new table, projects. So now we could have the project name, we could have some details about it, and we could have the start date and maybe the end date as well. Why not? Also, just a reminder here today, if you have a question, I'm not going to be stopping and asking, are there any questions? Because I'm going to assume if you have one, you're just going to let me know by posting to chat or that ask a question button. Either one is open for you. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and add our project name. So maybe we'll call this the small business initiative. And we'll call this one the large business initiative. We'll spell it correctly. And then we'll maybe call this one localization. We could then have some details. Same thing. We could enter in as much information as we wanted. And if we wanted to have a much more long form detail here, you can always open up what we call big cell. So you double click on your cell, and then it opens up the ability for you to actually edit it in a large mode. So you can go ahead and expand it out as you see fit. I'm now going to change these dates to be date columns so that we've got that as a date picker. There we go, date. And we'll do the same thing over here for end date. Honestly, this format column menu is so valuable. It allows you to really customize exactly how you want this to work. So we'll go ahead and choose date there as well. And then maybe this one is starting today and it's going to end in a month. Why not? Then the large business initiative, let's say that starts a little bit later this month. And this one goes through the end of May. And then this one starts in mid-May, just like so. And we're going to have this one go all the way to mid-June. So we can go ahead and add these projects, and we can even add any more columns that we wanted, however we want to describe this project to everybody else. So think about this as a way for you to say everything about this project that people need to be aware of. So now what we can do is we can connect this project with all of those tasks. So we'll head back over here to our all tasks area. And I'm going to go ahead and select all the goals. Want to see every goal here right now. This is a fancy little control. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a column to the left. So we'll go ahead and choose Insert Column to the left. And we'll call this the project. So now what we can do is we can actually connect that project table to this project column. There's no need for me to have to retype everything, particularly if I want to have all of the context of that project. So I'm going to go ahead and click on our handy little format column menu where we've been spending lots of time today. And now what we can do is we can go here to lookup. This is one of the column types that's available to you. And this is about building bridges between different tables. So if you want to populate one of your tables with another table's information, you can go ahead and choose that here. Notice it shows me all of the project tables that are available to me to choose from. And I'm going to go ahead and choose projects. Also, just a note here, it's so important to name all of your tables in your Coda doc. so that it's not just saying table 1, table 2, table 3, because you can imagine if we were trying to choose here and they all just said table 1, table 2, table 3, it'd be confusing to try and figure out which one was which. So go ahead, help your future self out. You've got that right here. So now what I can do is I can see this drop-down menu and it shows me all of the items from that table. So we could say, all right, this is part of the small business initiative. This is part of large business. This is small. This is localization. So now what we can do is we can hover over any of these and see all of the project details about it. So it's a way for us to have that nice connection. I'm just going to remove this dependency column for now, just because we're not going to use it for this particular example. So now what we could do is we could also group by this project. So maybe I want to see all of the small business initiative content together, just like we did over here in our roadmap existing example. Right up at the top, notice we had the grouping of each of those feature elements. So here we go. We're going to go and just click on that drop-down menu, choose group, and group along left. And now we can see how everything is distributed. And we could add more tasks here just by pressing enter. And here could be task number 7, and this one's going to be due on the 22nd, and this one's going to be assigned to, let's go ahead and say, hey, Christian, this is now your work. Congratulations. So now what we can do is we can start to connect the effort a little bit more. So what we had done in a past session is we had chosen to have effort be these coffee cups. But when you're thinking about effort, which is about how much work do we think this is going to entail for somebody, everybody's got kind of a different approach. So you could do this icon option like we see here, or going under here, you could choose under format column, maybe instead of scale, maybe you want it to just be a slider. So you can show kind of as it moves forward, or just a number, depending on how you like to do it. I think slider can be really helpful because it's a good way to kind of show very quickly how do we feel about it. So here we've got, this is going to be 67. This is going to be 92. We got a little bit different here. Maybe this is not started. So that can be a helpful way to do it. But remember, when we were in the project roadmap example over here, you can also just do effort as a straight number. A lot of times people like to do t-shirt sizes. Is it small, medium, or large? You could quantify that as 10, 20, or 30, or 10, 50, 100. So however you want to plan it, the idea is that it should be something that communicates to you what is required. So again, an opportunity for you to have a new way of working and a new way of communicating it out. So now what we could do is we can continue to add tasks here. And if we wanted to make it really easy for us to add new tasks, we could add a button, which is one of my favorite Coda tools. If you have attended any of my crowdcasts, you know that I am button crazy. I love buttons. So what I'm going to do is go right up here, and I'm going to do that backslash, and I'll type button. And I can choose new button here. And now I can adjust this button. So I'll say this is a task adder, and maybe I want the label to be add a new task. And then I decide what should this button do. In this case, I want to add a row to that big old task table. So I'll choose add a row and table to all tasks. I could have preset values if I wanted to. One of my favorites when it comes to adding tasks is if you're going to add a task to the tracker, it should be assigned to you as a starting point. So how I could do that is under set values, I could choose assigned to, and here I'm going to say equals the user. So this means whoever's clicking the button, I want their name to show up. And now I could say, do I want to open the row for editing? I generally like to do this. I'll show you what this means in just a moment, but it just makes it easier to kind of add very quickly. And then of course, always adding a little bit of color can be a fun thing to do. So now we've got our button. And those of you who are in this doc with me, please feel free, go ahead and click on add a new task like I'm doing right now. And this is what open row for editing means. Here I can go ahead and add all of the details very quickly. So I could say, talk to 20 business owners. The due date for this is going to be the 17th. Notice it's automatically assigned to me because of that user formula. And here I can say the effort is 38. Why not? That seems about right. And then the status is in progress. I'm already starting to talk to people. And then I can connect it to the objectives from that other table. So now if I click out of this, it's now added under my small business initiative right here under the goal 2. And we've got it all connected. So it's a way for you to start to add that very quickly and create sort of that app-like experience. What I like to think about it is you don't want people to have to think too hard about how do I do the thing I need to do in this doc. So anytime you can make it really simple by adding those buttons, it's a great way to just make it super easy for people to join in. So again, please feel free, click on that, add a new task. So now what I want to do is I want to be able to visualize the workload across our people. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make that sort of bar chart that we see here of how we're doing. So let's go ahead, jump on in. I could create a new section to add this in if I wanted to, but I can also put it here in the same section depending on how I feel about it. So we'll just put it here in the same section just so we can see much more easily how it's all connected together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go backslash and chart. Notice we've got all the different charts we can choose from. In this case, I would like to use that bar chart. And now notice it says, okay, do you want to make a net new chart or do you want to make a chart of something that's already in this Coda doc? In this case, I want to do the one that's already in this Coda doc, which would be my all tasks right here. So it'll go ahead and create that for me. And now I can decide, how do I want this chart to look? How do I want it to express the data? So the first thing you can choose is, what do you want the horizontal axis to be? In this case, I want it to be the person. Then I want to see the values. So in this case, I will choose the task and then the effort in this case. So we actually want the effort and then the sum. So I know how much are we doing. And then we can choose to segment it. And in this case, I want to segment it by project so I can see how are we doing. And notice you can be like double checking your work over here as far as, is that looking the way I want it to? Always doing that. And then under your more options here, you can say, well, do I want it to be vertical or horizontal? In this case, horizontal kind of feels right for me. And then we can also say, do we want to stack? So right now we're seeing each of them separately. In this case, I do want to stack it right here so I can see very quickly how are we doing across those initiatives. You could also decide to choose stack 100%, which just shows like across the board, how is our distribution. But here it makes more sense for us to do basic stacked because we will know that not everybody is doing the same amount of work, and this is going to help us work on that. So here we're going to also name our chart, so resource utilization. So notice now we can see, okay, looks like Christian has a lot of room. We could go ahead and give Christian a little bit more work. Looks like Maria Marquis is starting to get a little bit maxed out. We can work through it, and we see it by each of those initiatives. So it can be a really helpful way to visualize this general chart form. Because anytime we're looking at data, depending on the question we have, we want to see that data differently. If here is like, I just want to know what are all the things we're doing and what are they part of, that's what this is going to answer for me, this big old table. But if I want to know how are we utilizing our people across all of these projects, this is going to be the way that I want to see it. But here's the good news. Because I made it a view of this master table, any changes that I make up here automatically hold true in that other location. So let's say, oh, poor Maria, she's so overworked. I'm going to go ahead and reassign this to Jennifer instead. Notice down here at the bottom, I now see, great, Jennifer's got this, Maria's workload is different, and everything else is the same. So that's why I love this, is you don't have to worry about updating multiple locations. You update one spot and it automatically pushes everywhere else. And if we were to add more tasks here, under localization, we now have task number 8, and this one's going to be due on the 9th, and we can assign this one to go ahead and give this to Christian, why not? We now see that we've got all of that happening down here as well. So it's automatically adjusting and responding to what we put in. So we'll always get that big picture view. Now, one of the other ways, other questions we might want our doc to answer for us is what sort of when are people going to be available again? The date aspect of it. And that's why that Gantt chart approach is so valuable. So if we go over here and we look at the roadmap, we've got this Gantt chart that we can see about how everyone's doing. So let's go ahead and replicate this in our team tracker over here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in a different section. So we've got under resource utilization, we're going to go ahead and add a new section, which is our Gantt view. And I can just drag and drop that under resource utilization. We can then, of course, choose an icon so you can have it be exactly what you want. Let's see. This up this car, kind of fun, little lanes. You can also add cover photos. So here, if we wanted to choose something, we could say a Gantt chart. Let's see what comes up. Oh, poor Unsplash doesn't have anything about it. We could do chart here. This seems all right. We can go ahead and add that. And then, of course, reposition this if we wanted to do so. So we can just have it be like this. So it adds a little bit more fun here. So now I'm going to do that backslash, and I'll choose Gantt. There it is. We've also got some really good templates here as well that you can use. So we'll choose Gantt, and just like we did when we were doing that bar chart, what we can do is decide, do we want this to be a net new element, or do we want to pull from something that already exists? In this case, something that already exists, our all tasks table. So now we can decide how we want this to be segmented too. So here we could say, all right, this is a Gantt chart column. We can say, do we want this to be calculated based on an end date column or a duration column? In this case, a duration column makes more sense for us. We'll use the effort there. And then we'll also decide, okay, well, do we want to have this time access be automatic, or do we want to see it specifically on a quarterly basis or a monthly basis, whatever we like. I usually like to choose automatic just because it kind of optimizes for what I'm looking at. And then also selecting the time zone, super valuable. So now we've got our little Gantt chart over here, and we can see that we can expand and contract these elements. So we've got the ability to look just at goal 1 and then break it down by what's happening for the small business versus the large business. And then also for goal 2, seeing everything broken down as well. So it's a way for you to kind of interact with that as you move through, and quite simple to put together. So this is our Gantt view of all tasks. So the idea is that each of these views can help you answer those questions, and it should all come back to that people side of everything. And notice that when we're working in this area, all of the people on my project team, all they need to worry about doing is updating their status. Okay, great. I'm now complete with this, right? And being able to move through there. They don't have to worry about working with all of these charts unless they're interested. But myself, as the project manager, I've got that resource utilization, I've got that Gantt view, so I can be able to really master how everything's fitting together. And if you are like, oh, you know what, I want to remove this resource utilization from this area, I don't want it to clutter up the view of everybody who's part of it, you can always just go ahead and select it. I'm on a Mac today, so I'm going to do Command X. And I can go ahead and open up my resource utilization, and we'll call this the resource chart. And I can just drag and drop that in, and I'll do Command V, so pasting it right back here. So you have that ability to kind of create your own kind of project manager view. In fact, I could even name it that, project manager view. There we go. And adding a little resource icon here to help me really make it feel like my own. So now we can expand and contract that, and we've got this ability for everybody to have a place that's just for them. But we can then take that more transactional task-based information and make greater sense of it by zooming out. All right, so that concludes the first part of our session today. So with the remaining time, I'd love to answer any and all questions that you have about Coda, managing your projects. Also, since we do have a little bit of extra time, if folks are interested, I'd be happy to show the small business CRM and project tracker in a little more depth as well. So go ahead, give me, if you'd like to see the small business CRM tracker right now, give me a yes in chat. If you're like, not for me, give me a no, and we'll just see what the organization is, and we'll go from there. And also, please let me know what questions you have. I'll be happy to answer them. Got it. Okay, cool. And even though we're going to take a look, it sounds like, at this small business tracker, I will take any and all questions. So if you've got a question about something we just saw in resource utilization, please just let me know by doing Ask a Question, or anything Coda related, fair game, please let me know. All right, excellent. So it's an enthusiastic yes from everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Again, this is a template that you can just copy. So the link is over there in chat, so feel free to make a copy for yourself. But this is actually a doc that I created because when I'm not at Coda, I produce audiobooks, I do coaching, and I also do a lot of theater work. And so I wanted a really easy way to manage all of my projects and all of my sort of invoicing in one doc. So I made this. This is based on what I use to run my side business and all of my artistic endeavors. So how to think about it is there's 4 different steps. So as far as setup, what you want to do is you want to add your project types to the doc first so that you can sort things by what type of project it is. Because I found that depending on the project, it's got a repeatable set of tasks that always will happen. If I'm producing an audiobook, there's always pre-production, recording, editing, and then marketing the audiobook. Then after you've added the project types, you'll include the types of tasks in templates, and then you'll be able to add any new sections to create any views. Oh, great question. I'd love to understand current value and the formula map logic a little bit better. Yeah, those are a little bit more advanced for sure, Christian, and I'll take a note of that as well. Just give me a moment. Formula map and current value. Cool. So let's take a look at the setup part. And of course, adding your revenue goals is another one. So we can actually just go right there because I've included these links. So project types here, it's just a very simple table with 1 column, and you would just be able to add or edit these however you like. Then you would go ahead and create your templates. So here, all right, for coaching, I've always got sending an intake form, the initial meeting, the deliveries. For consulting, I've got these elements. For audiobooks, I've got these. Now, what I've done here is I've created a button as part of this column. And why that's helpful is that this button adds a row to another table. So when I add a new project, I have an automation that automatically updates this button. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a copy of this doc so we can see under the hood. So we'll just see it here. When it's in that play mode, you can't go into all of the details. So you can do this yourself as well, just by copying that doc. All right, great. So here we are. Let's go to our templates over on the side. This is where we were before. And I'm going to go ahead and collapse that side. We'll just go here to copy under format column. So notice it says adding a row to all tasks. And just like we did when we were doing the resource utilization, where we had it automatically populate the name of the user, here we automatically populate the task table with whatever this task's name is and the project for whatever this project is. And we don't open the row for editing, and we disable it if the project type is not equal to the type we've selected when we add something new. So I'll show you that in a moment. But I like this because when I have to add something new, I automatically just have this button get pressed. It automatically creates the new project for me. So it's a nice little automation. So then the next thing we would want to do is, of course, add our clients. So here they are. And this is actually a nice little formula. So you've got all the clients that you have. And then this formula here, if we go to edit it, says, look at the opportunities, filter by the client in this row. And if it's 1, I want you to sum the amount. So it's a nice way to get that full revenue organization. It looks like I'm doing really well right now. All right. So that is the first part of the setup, is just getting your project types in place based on the type of work that you do. You can then, over in your projects area, create any new sections that you need based on your project types. In this case, I've got 4 types of projects. So I've created a section for each, and I've made a view of our nice big all tasks table. So if we go to coaching here, this is what's called a detail view. And let's go ahead and take a look at what's under the hood. So I've filtered it where the type is equal to coaching. So this is just our all tasks table, but I'm only showing the coaching type. And instead of having it be a table view, I'm using a detail view, which I really like for projects because you can kind of pan through them and see how it's going. So let's actually see where the core table is. So it's over here under data, all tasks. This is the big table that's powering everything else. So we see it's grouped by project, the task, the status, and it has all of the details about it. So we're just making views of this big table in those different sections so that when I'm trying to see, oh, what are my audiobooks doing? I can go there. All right, so let's head back to the how to use this doc. Oh, one other thing as far as your setup is to go to your revenue goals and add them. So I can just click on that. Here I've put every month, and then you can put your goal revenue and then the actual revenue. And this is a formula. So here, if we take a look at that, look at the opportunities, filter by the month is equal to the one in this row. If the status is 1, I want you to sum the amount. So it's a nice way to have that connection. And if you copy this doc, all of those formulas and connections will already be in place. So you just need to populate your information and go from there. All right, so back to how to use. Under creating a new project then, let's say we close a deal, which is really exciting. So there's an automation happening here anytime an opportunity gets marked as 1. So notice over here, I've got my opportunities area. And this has all of the different opportunities that I'm working on. It's got months, it's got the client it's with. And then we have this status where is it 1? Am I pitching it? Are they a prospect? And the amount. So anytime something is marked as 1, let's see what happens. So we go over here to automations. There's only 1 in this doc. And it's triggered when a row is changed in the opportunities table. And that status is 1. So we don't want this to trigger anytime something changes because I'm probably going to be changing several things. But if status is 1, that's when I want to create the new project for myself. So then what I do is I add a row to my projects table and I populate it with the client name, the type of project, and the project name. And then I push all of the buttons. So this is where I push all the buttons in my template according to whatever project type it is, which then pushes all of those buttons to add those rows. So it's a nice way to just automatically just mark something as 1 and then it gets added. So for example, let's say that Daniel Doc decides to close with me. I get the great news. I go ahead and choose 1. What's going to happen is that's going to have all the buttons get pushed. It's going to add a new project and I'm going to see it in coaching. So what's going to happen is I'll see it in our project dashboard. I'll see coaching Daniel Doc, there he is, and I can put in the due date. Maybe this is due on the 24th. Then if I go over to my projects and my coaching area, I also see that Daniel Doc has been added here to my career coaching with all of those tasks that I want to do every time that we have that, have a coaching interaction. So what I love about it is I don't have to spend a ton of administrative time making these new things. I just push that one status change and the automation runs everything else for me, which is really, really great. All right, so then this is just outlining what happens under the hood. And then the next part is we can log income and expenses because I found that it was really helpful for me to have all of the income and expenses in the same place as my project work. All right, oh, it looks like we've got a question. Let me just grab that there. All right, so the question is, how can we use an interactive filter in text mode? I can't figure out using it in list view. Kadir, could you give me a little bit more information about what you're hoping to do? Are you trying to filter text on a page based on a control? I'd just love to know a little bit more about what you have in mind so I can make sure I answer your question appropriately. Yeah. So go ahead, let me know either in chat or elsewhere. Yeah. Great. Because what I will say is if you're trying to filter text here based on a control, that's not possible. Controls at this point in time only filter based on table information. So that's just something to keep in mind. But if you're trying to do this collapsing bit, notice there's a little shish kebab menu right next to the content here. Here's where you can decide to disable or enable collapsing. But yeah, let me know a little bit more about what you have in mind, and that'll help me better answer your question. Yeah, great question. So what we've got is if we have an invoice, when I send it, all I need to do is click on a button to add that invoice to my invoice tab. So here, notice we have income and expenses. So we can log income right here. And the nice thing about this is that this should be pretty familiar. This is a lookup column that we saw earlier today. And you know that because it's got that little outline and it shows me all the information about Daniel Doc, which is great. Then the amount, let's say $500, it's sent. I can include the payment terms. This is a net 30, for example. And then it automatically populates the due date to be 30 days from today. I can include a link to the invoice. And then there's also a bit of a formula happening here that if this due date is passed, it'll automatically go to red. And I'll also see all of my overdue invoices back here in my sales dashboard. So I've got my revenue goals and then this overdue invoice that still needs to be paid, and also how we're doing based on the month. And also how things are going across your client base. So you can see, are we mostly small work? Are we sort of one big project? How that might look. So the income is great. And then the other thing I really like to do in my project dashboard is to add a little button that says, is the invoice sent? So that I know, okay, great, Daniel Doc has been sent. And then when Daniel Doc pays, I can mark that as well. So it's a nice way to just know, oh, am I on track of my books? Yes or no. Also for percent complete, this is that scale icon. We had those coffee cups a little bit earlier today. So we have this just in that, this little sort of bar view, which I really like to show for progress. And then this is just a formula of how many completed tasks versus total tasks we have. Yeah. All right, so back to our doc. Logging expenses, right here under expenses, you can just do the same thing of pushing that button. I also would recommend, if you want to be able to have the receipt image, I've made this as a little image column. So what this can do is then you just click on plus and it'll allow you to upload images from your computer. Or if you're on your phone, I could go ahead and take my phone, take a picture of the receipt, and then it would automatically upload here. So if you're looking at Coda on your phone, this is a nice little hack that I really enjoy. Then the last part of how to use this doc is I've got a dashboard. So I wanted to create 3 different ways to look at how my business was progressing. And the first one was to just see, what do I need to focus on this week? Another one was, how is my sales going? And then another one is, what are all the projects I currently have active? All right, got a question here, which is, do you have an idea when we can add a PDF? I unfortunately do not. And believe me, I am waiting for this as much as everybody else is. At this point, there have been some other things that have been prioritized as far as working through text editing and more performance elements. So it is something that's on the roadmap. Our product managers know people want it. It just hasn't been prioritized yet. But as soon as I know, you will all know, because I'll be dancing on the rooftops, excited that I can add PDFs as well. I would say like a workaround is to just save a version of your PDF as like a JPEG or a PNG file and use it as an interim. Obviously not perfect, but there's that. Something that I will also do is, if you've got something like a Dropbox or a Box, you could go ahead and grab a link to a file from that location. And if you're using Dropbox, you can actually use the Dropbox pack here as well. Yeah, of course. So let's take a look at these 3 different dashboards. So this week, this is the all tasks table, just filtered by what's going on right now. So let's take a look at the filter here. So notice that says start by is within this week, or needs to be completed within this week. So I want to know what start and end dates are here, and if the status is not done. So that's my filter there. In this case, we're very lucky. We have nothing we need to work on. And then overdue tasks. This is pretty much the opposite. Is it before the start of this week and the status is not done, or is the complete date before? So just a good way to know, how are we tracking? How do I need to plan my time? Then under our sales dashboard, we already got a little bit of a hint at this one. But here what we've got is we've got a formula that lets me know how much business I've closed. So if I right click on this formula, you can see it's looking at the opportunities table where the status is 1 and we're making a sum of the amount. I've included a goal here. So my goal revenue is my taking my revenue table and summing it. And then here's the business to close for goal. This is just subtracting those 2 elements. And my pipeline, if I right click on that, it lets me know, take a look at opportunities where the status is not won and not lost. So it's either pitching or prospecting, and then to sum the amount. So I found this to be really helpful, just to go like, oh, great, this is about how I'm doing. Then we have our overdue invoices, which is that view of invoices that we saw where the overdue is currently checked. We can then have a chart of that monthly revenue. In this case, where instead of seeing it as a table, we're seeing it as a bar chart as far as the actual versus the goal. And then the distribution across client. And then our other dashboard is right over here, the project dashboard, where we've got the lookup column to the type, the project name, a lookup to our clients, and also the percent complete. So it's a really helpful doc for me personally. And honestly, it's really just a couple tables that are populating everything else. So feel free to copy this. It is a template, and we've got that there for a reason. All right, excellent. Got a question here, which is, I would like to create a template for creating offers quickly for my customers. So when I select a customer name, is it possible to print out the text details of the customer? Got it. So I've got an idea for you, Kadir. Thank you for giving me more details. Let me actually just share my screen again. We'll go ahead, choose to share this. There we go. So you should see it in just a moment. All right, so here we are. How I would do this is I would create a section and I would call this the offer template. And now what I would do is I would do some formulas. So how I would do it is I would want to start off with creating a drop-down menu for my clients. So we've got this clients table here, and we've got contact, the email. Maybe we would want to add what their prefix is. All right. So what we could do then is go to our, where did I put it? There it is, the offer template. And I want to create a control here. So I would do backslash control or go up to our plus sign. Again, whatever helps you, helps me. I would choose the select list. And in this case, we'll choose the customer picker. And for the selectable items, I'm going to go ahead and say, give me a formula. And I want it to be client. So now what we can do is we can just click on that. Notice we have all of our clients here. I always like to include a little bit of a label as well. So we'd say select a client. And then what we could do is we could start to write our template. So dear, and then in this case, we would do equals client picker. Oh, I think we need to name this. I don't think I named it customer picker. That's what it is. Equals customer picker dot client. Or name, I think that's what we called it. Let me actually just pull in our customer table just into here so we can go ahead and I can save myself trying to remember what I've named these things. Again, the importance of naming. So let's just grab this to Command X. Thank you for your patience as we work on the fly here. All right, so we want to do customer picker dot client. All right. And this is blank, so let's try to Kathy Coda. There we go. So now if I choose Kathy Coda, it's going to go there, or Daniel Doc, or Markiko. So that you can then, because we're pulling in all of this other information, like my email at email.com and Ms., for example, you could go ahead and then put all this in here. And then, thank you for your business of, and then you can do equals customer picker dot revenue. And then here, in this case, Markiko has given us nothing. But if we were doing Kathy Coda, now we can say, dear Kathy Coda, thank you for your business of this. So whatever is in this table, you could then pull it into this offer letter. So that would be my recommendation there. So Kadir, let me know if that'll be helpful for you. Nice. Awesome. What other questions can I help with today? We've got about 15 minutes, so if there's anything else that you need, please feel free and let me know. If you need to see something again, or if you're curious about how to accomplish something, I am here for it. Yeah, of course, Kadir, my pleasure. It's what I really like to do for that one is using it for account plans. I can automatically pull in all of the information about an account into one field. If I just want to see this one or the next one. It's also really great for meeting notes, as far as you pull the meeting name out of a control and automatically pulls in all of the information about it. So you can get really creative with it if you like. Yeah. Awesome. Any other burning questions I can help with today? All right. Great. Well, thanks so much for joining me. Please feel free to make copies of those templates. Either one will work for you. Also, you can watch a replay of all of our crowdcasts at our channel, which I'll pop right into the chat for you, crowdcast.io/Coda HQ. There you go. Ooh, great question, Jennifer. Do we have a basic training? My recommendation is to head to coda.io/learn, and I'll actually pull this up on my screen so you can see it, coda.io/learn. I'll share it right here. All right. What this is something I put together with all of our learning videos. So how it works is we've got right at the top, you can decide kind of what do you want to learn more about. And then under video courses, I would go to Coda Essentials. And what this has is it's got a video that you can watch for each lesson. And then most lessons also have a little activity to try. So you can actually give it a go and see how it works. So you watch the video and then you can try it out. Yeah, that would be my recommendation. Mhm. That goes through all of the different building blocks, how they fit together, and being able to get you comfortable with sort of Coda vocabulary. Mhm. Yeah, great question, Jennifer. Yeah, my pleasure, of course. Excellent. Anything else that folks need help with today before we sign off? Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for joining me, everybody. Have a wonderful, oh yes, we will be doing more of these. So we don't have more scheduled right now, but we are currently looking at doing more events. So if you've got different things you'd be curious about that you'd like to attend, please feel free, post them there or send them to our support channel. You can also just ping me directly as well with your requests and all of that. But we are trying to do even more events to just really help people out. And honestly, it just gives me a chance to meet all of you and hang out with you and provide some ideas, which is always really enjoyable. So keep an eye on our Crowdcast channel. If you haven't chosen to follow it yet, I definitely recommend you do. That'll always let you know when we are live. Yeah, excellent. All right, cool. Well, have a great rest of your week, everybody. I will see you next time. And enjoy using Coda, have some fun, and don't hesitate to get in touch if you ever need help. We're here for you.